New Zealand's borders are constantly under threat from drugs, illegal goods and incoming passengers bringing plants, pests and animal diseases that could cripple our economy overnight. Only the men and women of the Customs Service and MPI Biosecurity stand in their way. They are New Zealand's Border Patrol. Tonight on Border Patrol, arriving on false pretences.
I think it's a legit passport, I just don't think it's his.
Calls for a full-scale investigation.
I suspect he could be carrying.
A shocking find on a first-time traveller.
There could be some kind of drug traces, you think?
Yeah, there's definitely a possibility of drug.
An exotic inspection carries a threat.
So I've seen signs of live insects and I need to stop the inspection.
A flight from Hong Kong has brought a man into Auckland who appears to be making false claims about who he is and where he's from.
Looking at his passport photo, it doesn't seem to resemble him. So we're going to do some further checks. You speak English?
No, Spanish.
Spanish, okay. No English?
No.
Okay. So what is your name?
Ricardo.
Okay. What's your birth date?
5 abril del 78.
The birth date is correct, but his arrivals form contains some mistakes, and he hesitates when filling out his name. But worst of all, the man seems to have slipped up on which language he should be speaking if he did come from Brazil.
He said he only speaks Spanish. He says he's from Brazil, which is a Portuguese-speaking country, so we need to establish where he's actually from.
Despite the language barrier, there are some things the man does understand.
Do you have drugs? Like cocaine?
No, nunca.
Nothing like that?
No.
Okay.
Hierba, marihuana, tampoco, jamás.
Okay.
Jamás.
Stolen or fake passports pose a huge threat to security worldwide, being used by drug smugglers, criminals and terrorists.
One of the things I'm looking at is his ears and his eyes. They look quite different. This picture here, is this you?
Te explico. Ahí.
You were very fit. He stated that he was a lot fitter back in 2010. He was playing a lot of sports, so had a lot less weight. So he would have been thinner on the face, but that still doesn't explain why his ears look quite different.
Yo vengo a apoyar a los Pumas de Argentina.
Without an interpreter to make sense of the man's claims to be here for the Rugby World Cup, Brendan gets the search underway.
Okay, so your tickets to watch, tickets for Puma game, where are they? In your bag? He states that he's here for the rugby because he's an avid rugby fan. He cannot name any of the Argentinian players, which is a big concern for me, seeing he's travelled all the way from Brazil. Where's your ticket to World Cup?
Mis amigos.
Your friends have them?
Sí.
Can you write their names? Their nombre?
Los nombres.
Yep, 2 nombre.
Sí.
On here.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
I got the names of his friends, and I just wanted to establish what passports they were travelling on. So one is travelling on an Italian passport, one's travelling on an Argentinian passport.
The man's friends aren't making his story look any better. Anyone making a false statement on arrival here risks being denied entry, a fine of up to $100,000, or a jail term of up to 7 years. So what will happen to this man? Foreign diseases and insects put our homegrown industries and economy at serious risk. As well as stringent regulations on importing goods, it's the hands-on checks by MPI that really stop bugs backpacking with an arriving cargo. Specialist biosecurity inspector Leighton has been tasked with a shipment of exotic taxidermy. Before the cargo is opened, the packaging itself must be inspected.
The wood packaging is compliant and very safe. They've used plywood, which is a safe timber for them. It's also been ISPM stamped. It's been heat treated, which means it gives us some reassurance that there's no fungus. It's quite essential that we protect our forest industry. Our pine exports are worth about $5 billion a year to the New Zealand economy. And if we get any boring pests, then restrictions will be put on our exports.
The professional packing sets the inspection off to a good start.
Now you've got to decide which side we're going to take off. Wow, this is going to be quite awkward, eh? We'll be looking for any insect pests and also any signs of anything that may contain disease, such as any soil or fecal matter. Also, anything that could harbour anthrax or foot and mouth disease.
South Africa is not considered free from foot and mouth disease, so trophies and animal parts require extensive documentation. However, is there anything lurking inside? Once he's in, Leighton immediately spots a problem.
There are signs of insect pests here.
In Queenstown, the snow is falling heavily, so it's packed powdery slopes during the day, and at night, a pumping party season 2. At the airport, customs are on alert for anyone arriving with the wrong kind of fun in mind.
Just follow me. Come this way.
Spot checks on passengers have netted this young man who's confessed to taking drugs in the past. The admission has brought him a one-way ticket to the search area.
Pop your stuff up on the bench and take a seat, and I'll be with you in a second, all right?
Oh, you know, you can't help with being edgy, but, like, I've got nothing to hide, so I'm not bothered, really.
If there's anything that you can think of that you want to declare now,
Okay.
put it down on there.
The only thing that I would consider changing is the first one,
Yep.
because I've got some relaxants for the plane.
Some meds, okay. And what are they, do you know?
Xanax.
Some Xanax,
yeah.
okay. And are they prescribed to you? Has your doctor prescribed them to you, or did you
No.
obtain... Okay, right.
It's illegal to be in possession of the Class C drug Xanax without a prescription. Rob's failure to declare the tablets is not a good start.
Tell me a little bit about what you told the officer out there. He asked you about any drug use?
Yeah,
Was that it? Yeah. And then what did you answer?
Said affirmative over the past 7 days.
So how often would you say you use drugs, any kind of drugs? How often?
Monthly.
Okay. And what generally do you use?
Speed.
Okay. So it's mainly chemicals, is it? It's not usually you kind of more into speed and cocaine or ecstasy or anything like that?
Alarm bells ring when Rob reveals the source of his undeclared Xanax.
You came across somebody where, sorry? In a club, okay. And what did you pay for them?
I paid $10.
$10 each, okay.
The evidence is stacking up against Rob as a risk to the border. He's bought the Xanax illegally and has admitted to previous drug use. Emma moves on to checking his belongings for drug traces.
So what I'm going to do is just take a couple of samples off your
Off me?
personal... no, just off your bits and pieces. And we're just going to see what it comes back with. There's a possibility there could be some kind of drug traces, you think?
There's definitely a possibility of drug traces.
Oh, and what drugs generally do you use?
Speed.
Okay.
Queenstown Airport, and a passenger with a known drug history is having swabs taken from his personal items. Drug swabs can pick up readings as low as 1%, but the reading from Rob's laptop is 30 times that.
He's not hiding the fact that he is a recreational drug user, so I'm not surprised that there are drug tracings, just seeing whether he's actually carrying any drugs with him. OK, so there was quite a high reading off that, I have to say. Yeah. Do you know what for? Can you tell me what it would have been for? Yeah. For drugs, yeah. Do you know what it would have been for?
No.
OK. It's giving me a really quite high reading for methamphetamine. OK. Probably in Australia you call it ice.
Ice is a powerful and highly addictive drug, and more potent than other forms of amphetamines.
OK, I'm just going to take a couple more scans of your items, and I'm just going to look through this other bag as well.
Now Rob is really skating on thin ice.
It's my first time out of Australia, so this is fairly intense for me.
Luckily for Rob, his phone comes back with no drug trace reading. But given what Emma has discovered so far, she has concerns as to what Rob is here in Queenstown for and what he's going to get up to.
Now, I know you said that you bought a few pills and things from people in clubs and stuff like that. if that happened in Queenstown, or if somebody approached you with something in Queenstown, would you take it? Would you buy something?
No, if you know.
Okay, why not?
Well, simply because I'm up here to snowboard and hopefully skydive and bungee jump.
Okay, so you can tell me that you're not looking to buy any drugs while you're here, is that it?
No intentions.
Okay,
With
right.
his fate undecided, Rob waits.
Okay then, you know those white pills that you've brought in, that's actually a Class C drug, okay? If you'd got them from the doctor and they'd been prescribed to you, they wouldn't be. So that indicates to us that you are buying drugs illegally. So what we're going to do is Immigration New Zealand are going to give us a ring and they're going to have a talk with you and they're going to ask you a few questions, and if they're satisfied then you'll be able to land and leave the airport, but the decision is theirs ultimately, okay?
A conversation with immigration will decide if Rob can stay in New Zealand or will be returned to Australia.
Ah, there we go.
At a quarantine facility in Auckland, Leighton has found evidence of dermisted beetles in a rare consignment of African wildlife.
There we go. We have a dermisted beetle, which is metamorphosized from a larvae into a beetle, and we've got live beetles here. We will most definitely have to have this fumigated with methyl bromide to ensure that there are no living pests. This is quite common for hunting trophies, and it's a pest that we definitely do not want in New Zealand. OK, I'll get a jar for that. It's a very distinct beetle, very distinct black and white markings.
This destructive pest has penetrated not only the animal's skins, but also all the preparation and documentation required for border entry.
Of the inspection, I would like to just simply close up the crate and have it shrink wrapped, because I've seen signs of live insects and I need to stop the inspection at this stage and continue at a later date.
The rest of the inspection will have to wait.
It shows you the variety of things that's come across the border. Every day at MAF's a different day. We do the same sort of jobs, but one day you'll be looking at bananas, next day it's hunting trophies, other times it's Ferraris or Harley-Davidson motorbikes, and they've all got their own associated risk.
The box will be completely sealed and collected by fumigators.
When you do find things and you get treated and you know that you're protecting New Zealand, it gives you a good feeling and it makes your job worthwhile.
Until it's fumigated to get rid of the nasty pests, this box won't be crossing the border.
You speak English?
No, Spanish.
In Auckland, a man who only speaks Spanish is claiming he's from the Portuguese-speaking country of Brazil, and he looks nothing like the passport photo. But his identity is about to get even more complicated.
This was in his bag. I'm not sure what it is. It looks like some form of ticket and it's got a completely different name, so Gary Castro. That could be something, you know, indicating if it's him or not.
But that's not the end of the identity roundabout.
This is his MasterCard and it's got the name Valdivia on it. I don't know what name that is or whose name that is. So we've got now 3 different names in terms of a credit card, a ticket and his passport.
If the Visa card isn't his, then how is the man planning on paying for his stay here?
So he's got $800 and he wants to be here for 2 months.
There's only one customs officer available to act as translator, but a barrier remains.
Well, he speaks Spanish, not Portuguese.
Yeah.
My
But you speak Spanish, don't you?
Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese.
Oh, close enough, right?
The man claims he was born in Venezuela, but is that what the Brazilian passport says?
You can look that up where it is.
There should be telling Venezuela.
Yeah, there's his ticket.
Incredibly, his flight tickets bring yet another language into this tale of international intrigue.
It's all in German, it's not in Spanish or Portuguese. If he's booked his tickets in Brazil, it should be in Portuguese.
So what could have happened is he left on his passport to get to these countries, to Germany,
Yeah.
and then got the false in Germany.
But it's the photo that is Brendan's most obvious piece of evidence.
Passport to me, that's not him. I think it's a legit passport, I just don't think it's his.
The man says his friend will call him on arrival, but rather inconveniently, all 3 of his cell phones are dead. Every conversation brings more suspicion, so it's time for swab tests to determine if there are any traces of drugs present.
So now we just rub it on his bags and all his items and just try and establish if there's any residues of something that might have been there before. So I just rubbed the inside of his suitcase. There's nothing on that.
Searches on the man's laptop, clothes and even credit card also bring no sign of any suspicious substances.
There's no residues of anything located.
But Brendan is not convinced.
The next step, we just x-ray any items that we consider could be containing drugs or high-risk goods.
It's not coming up with anything drugs.
But it's if you're there, I know it's based there, so this might be coming through.
Yeah, I don't think it's drugs, but I think it's just the way it's made.
But a dodgy passport, little money and uncontactable friends is not painting a good picture for the man's credibility.
I'm not quite happy with the suitcase. It's a bit heavier down this end.
Brendan's determined to inspect the suspiciously hard base on the bag, so he's bringing in the big guns. A man has arrived at Auckland Airport with a Brazilian passport that's not his and a dodgy backstory. Under questioning, the man has said he was born in Venezuela. So does this check out with the place of birth in the passport?
I checked to see if it was a place in Venezuela, and it's in Venezuela.
Clearly this man and this passport are a criminal mismatch. Investigating Officer Brendan is determined to get to the bottom of why this man is trying to enter the country illegally. And he suspects it's all about drugs.
As I'm not happy with the suitcase, I'm basically just going to drill a wee hole in it, see if there's any powder residues or anything, and then I'll test those. So we'll just go into the equipment room.
But the heavy cardboard base inside the bag proves to be just that.
Okay, so that was negative, so I'm pretty happy with it. And next stage we'll proceed whether he's carrying anything on him, so we'll go with a personal search.
No World Cup tickets, no knowledge of New Zealand or the team he's here to see. This man is clearly high risk.
You suspect he's carrying?
I suspect he could be carrying. So I've talked to my boss and we're going to proceed with a personal search, which will then validate whether he's carrying anything on his person. Yeah.
A staff member more fluent in Spanish arrives for the search. The man is not carrying drugs, but he's not off the hook either.
In terms of customs, we've finished with him now. We're still not happy with his passport, so we're going to take him up to immigration now. They can do their checks and they may want to interview with him and go into further details. They can hold him for a lot longer than us.
The man has made a series of ridiculous mistakes. He doesn't look like the photo, he doesn't speak the right language. Later, when questioned by immigration, the man admitted the passport wasn't his and he was sent home, wherever that is. At a biosecurity facility in Auckland, Jake's taking over the inspection of a rare consignment of African wildlife that's just been fumigated.
We're going to have a good look to make sure there's no live insects still in there.
Larvae cases and a live demisted beetle were found in the consignment.
They are one of the high-risk pests that we do like to find, and it's something really good that Leighton's done, and we stop that from coming in.
The fumigation kills the bugs, but it can't eradicate disease like foot and mouth, so any untreated animal matter is a major risk.
And there's a small amount of spider webbing, but as this has already been fumigated, it's not going to pose any risk at all.
Amongst the trophies, there are yet more signs the insect infestation was major.
Insects in the air there. It's another domestic larvae, but he'll happily cruise along eating anything he can get his hands on inside the game trophies themselves, and then turn into a beetle and off he'll go to breed.
Even the backs of the mounted heads weren't safe from the scavenging pest.
Another domestic larvae come out the back of this head here. So the skins and all the animal trophies, I'm pretty happy with them. No risk material in there whatsoever, so they're good to go.
In Queenstown, a young man flying in from Australia is in deep trouble.
Oh, it's not looking that great for him. There's a cluster of things that aren't in his favour.
Rob has been found with traces of meth on his laptop, reading at a massive 30%. Not only that, but he's in possession of Class C tablets, which he bought illegally in a nightclub.
You know those white pills that you've brought in? That's actually a Class C drug.
The customs search is over, but Rob is waiting to see if immigration will let him stay in New Zealand.
They feel they've got sufficient reason to not trust me, and
What shopping did you do?
I guess I'm just hoping for a second chance.
Emma speaking. Hello. Okay, shall I just put you on to Robert? Well, obviously it's Immigration New Zealand's call at this point, but yeah, I don't know which way it could go.
Recreational, I couldn't tell you for sure.
Okay, so what's the go?
They're getting me on the next flight.
Okay.
But the bad news isn't over for Rob.
He'll probably be detained overnight and sent back in the morning, first thing in the morning. Okay.
Unfortunately for Rob, his overnight stay will be in the cells. And a police escort is here to tell him why.
We're going to try and get you on a flight this afternoon back to Australia. Now that's depends on when it arrives and if they can get the turnaround quick enough. Because planes can't fly out of Queenstown Airport after 5:30 in the evening. So should that not occur, you'll be coming back to the station with me and staying the night there in custody.
Rob's snowboarding holiday has turned into a trip from hell. The only lift he'll be catching is to the police station.
Better luck next time. Hopefully on a better note, I shall return.